Hi and welcome. This is Greg. It's been about a week since I last did one of these, and trying to get back on the horse and back on track. And so this is officially day 25, even though I've missed a few days. And today is about social media and your mental health, and I've called it Your Brain on Social Media. There's going to be some great links over on the website gregscloud.com, so go ahead and check that out. So today I'm going to discuss the impact of social media on your brain and your mental health, and I'll examine the issue. We'll look at some scientific research and expert opinions and try and understand how it affects our brain and well-being. But before we delve in, let's get this out of the way. Again, day 25. So if you enjoy these videos, let me know. Consider subscribing to the channel and the newsletter over on the website. Leave a comment with any feedback or content that you'd like to see, or how I might improve these videos, and I'll try and make that happen. Let's delve in. So first, before we can look at the mental health on the brain, how it affects the brain, let's define what is mental health. And the Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary defines it as mental health, the condition of being mentally and emotionally sound, characterized by the absence of mental illness and adequate adjustment, especially as reflected in feeling comfortable about oneself, having positive feelings about others, and the ability to meet the demands of daily life. Also, the general state of one's mental and emotional well-being. The World Health Organization defines it as mental health is a state of well-being that enables individuals to cope with life's stresses, realize their abilities, learn effectively, work productively, and contribute to their communities. It's an essential component of overall health and well-being, supporting our individual and collective capacity to make decisions, build relationships, and shape the world we live in. SAMHSA, which is a Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services government website, defines it as mental health encompasses our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It influences our thoughts, feelings, actions, and how we handle stress, relate to others, and make decisions. The CDC defines it as mental health encompasses our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It impacts our thinking, emotions, behaviors, stress management, relationships, and decision-making abilities. Mental health is essential at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence through adulthood. And one more definition by the American Psychiatric Association: mental illness are health conditions that involve changes in emotion, thinking, or behavior, or a combination of these, and they can cause distress or impair social, occupational, or or family functioning. So, as you can see, mental health is about how we feel and think, how we handle stress, have good relationships, and function in daily life. It's not just the absence of mental illness, but also the feeling of being fulfilled, purposeful, and resilient when facing challenges. By focusing on our mental health, we can create some more balance in our life. So, social media use and its impact on the brain. The impact of social media on the brain is an interesting subject. It's clear that, excuse me, that social media heavily influences our brains, whether we're scrolling through feeds, liking posts, or having online conversations. It has become a pretty big part of our lives. But how exactly does it affect mental health? And that in of itself brings up lots of questions such as, when we ponder the impact of it, some questions that might come up. How does it affect mental health? How does it does it affect mental health? And if so, how does it affect mental health? Is there any expert opinions on the subject? Is there any research that can give us answers? Can it have a positive impact on our mental health, or is it always a negative? What's the relationship between social media and mental health? If there is a relationship, is it bad for us? How does it affect teenagers' mental health? And if it's bad for us, why is it bad for us? So psychologists have noted a rise in stress linked to the consumption of news, particularly on social media. And this has resulted in the creation of terms like doom scrolling and headline stress disorder. Both adults and young adults are affected by the constant exposure to negative news, which can lead to emotional distress and other psychological symptoms. Here's a couple of tips to reduce stress from too much news consumption online or other sources. Limit your online time and time you spend on news websites. Choose your news sources carefully. Be mindful of your emotional reactions to the news, and take breaks from the news when you need it. Talk to a therapist or counselor if you're struggling. There's a video which there's several videos which I'm posting over on the website. One of them is social media and mental health. Lady by the name of Bailey Parnell explores the harmful impact of excessive social media. It's a TED Talk. And it leads to comparison, low self-esteem, and anxiety, and fear of missing out, FOMO. It causes stress. 70% of Canadian students won't quit social media due to the fear of missing out, and online harassment, cyberbullying, and addiction are significant concerns. And in that video, she emphasizes the need for balance. And so how does it affect teenagers' mental health? Speaking of teenagers, a large number of teens and young adults experience stress due to news they see on social media and traditional news outlets. More than half US adults frequently or sometimes get news from social media. The constant exposure to negative news, such as racial injustice, can be pretty overwhelming and contribute to media saturation. Television and social media have been linked to emotional distress, especially in younger adults and women. To reduce stress from the news, it's important to be mindful of how much news you consume, as I mentioned earlier, and take some breaks when you need it, and try and focus on positive news stories. The Surgeon General just issued a warning about the dangers of social media. In an article, it was published in May this year, May the 23rd, 2023, on the website of the United States Department of Health and Human Services. And it's the Surgeon General's warning, and it talks about the impact of social media on teenagers' mental health and the risks it poses to their well-being. United States Attorney General Vicki Murphy is calling for urgent action to address these risks, and emphasizes the importance of creating safer online environments for children and adolescents. And some of the key facts from the Attorney General's warning: adolescence is a critical stage for our brain development, increasing vulnerability to social media's harms. 95% of 13 to 70 year olds use social media, with nearly a third using it almost constantly. Here's some facts about social media. It exposes children to harmful content, and this is part of the Attorney General's warning. Exposes children to harmful content such as violence, bullying, and harassment. It can disrupt sleep and negatively impact in-person interactions. Affects children differently based on culture, history, and socio-economic status. It can help adolescents feel accepted and supported and creative. It's not entirely bad, but teens who spend more than 3 hours on social media a day double their risk of mental health problems. It can harm body image, especially in girls, and social media is linked to poor sleep and depression in youth. The Surgeon General's recommendations for action include implementing stronger safety standards, promoting tech company transparency, encouraging responsible parenting, promoting healthy online practices, and supporting research on the topic. Concerns about social media and young people. The impact on young people's health. Excessive use of social media can lead to anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. But it does provide opportunities for connection. More research is certainly needed. Medical organizations advocate for safety precautions, and the Attorney General recommends addressing youth mental health isolation and the negative effects of social media. Guidelines have been issued. Personally, I used to have a really big problem, much more than now, with social media. I used to use Facebook a lot, and if I didn't get likes or something, I took it personally, like I'd done something wrong. It's hard to admit that, but it was a thing for me, and it's very real. You've probably heard of postcode envy, which is a similar concept, right? You get people who buy these fancy houses, they look great, live this lifestyle, but when you open the front door, the house is empty, they're sitting on milk crates. A lot of people live life online as a pseudo, a replacement for real life. Being online is a huge part of my life, but it can be very unhealthy if you're just online all the time and you don't go out and do anything. Personally, I have a problem with isolation, which I'm trying to address, and I am getting better at it. Some weeks, some days, some hours better than others, excuse me. But, especially among young minds, online social media it can be a bad thing or it can be a good thing. Social media can be a positive force for teenagers. Parents should guide them with honest, open conversations. Posting another video over on the website from an accredited US hospital, and some of the highlights of the video. Teens go online to connect, join groups, and explore their interests, and social media can help teens connect with others and other people who relate to their challenges. Teens use filters to gain likes, creating a disconnect between their online and their real selves. Posts made online can last forever, so before you post something, always think. And employers check social media, so be responsible and be aware of what you're posting. Parents should supervise and talk to their children about social media and have genuine open-minded conversations when talking to children, and focus on curiosity, not concern. When you're talking to your children, like, like you're interested, not I'm worried about what you're doing. So, and check with teens about their online habits and maintain, try and help maintain healthy usage. How do smartphones play a role in mental health? Phone notifications increase the desire to check news frequently, and that's due to a dopamine boost that they provide. Psychologists advise reducing technology usage and minimizing notifications, and they also suggest taking proactive steps towards addressing important matters instead of solely consuming news. Jotting down alarming headlines can be helpful in alleviating negative thoughts. In today's digital age, social media, it's really become an integral part of our lives, from scrolling through our friends' updates to watching engaging videos. We're constantly bombarded with information and stimuli. But how really does it affect our brain? There was a study published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology which talked about excessive use of social media having detrimental effects on our psychological health, and it found that increased time on social media platforms can lead to feelings of envy, depression, and decreased life satisfaction. Constant exposure to the seemingly perfect lives of others, it can create very unrealistic expectations and negativity, and impact our self-esteem. So yeah, it's been found to stimulate the reward center in our brains. Every like, every comment, every share triggers a release of dopamine, which is the feel-good neurotransmitter. And dopamine release encourages to seek more validation and more engagement on social media, and it creates a loop of addictive behavior. And the phenomenon of that is often referred to as social media addiction. It's a real thing. The constant scrolling and consumption of information online can lead to a decreased attention span, difficulty in focusing on tasks. And there's been multiple studies that have shown excessive use of social media can impair cognitive performance and hinder our ability to concentrate. So it's kind of important that we be mindful of time spent online and which platforms we spend our time on. Social media addiction can have detrimental effects such as depression, decreased attention span, which we talk about, but it also rewires the brain reward system. It can trigger anxiety and it affects behavior. Although social media does offer some advantages, its algorithm-driven dopamine rewards can be harmful to individuals and to society. There's another video which I'm posting as well. Social media use can lead to addiction, and the risk of excessive usage includes depression, unhappiness, and that's due to the brain's rewiring for immediate rewards. Disrupting sleep patterns, which we talked about, negative mood. Algorithms trigger the dopamine release, which promotes frequent interaction. People with low self-esteem are more affected by feedback online, especially on Instagram, one study stated. Dopamine cells release the dopamine in response to positive experiences, leading to addiction, shorter attention spans. It can shrink your brain and make you distracted, and social media addiction can increase anxiety and depression risks. Spending more than 5 hours a day online increases the risk of suicidal thoughts. Although social media can be a positive force for education and small businesses if it's used wisely. Monitor usage, take breaks for better mood and attention span. Another good video I'm posting over on the website. How can we mitigate the negative impact of social media on our brain? A few tips. We could set limits, establish boundaries for social media usage. This may include designating specific times of the day for checking your accounts or limiting the amount of time you spend on each platform. And this is very applicable to me because I have a huge problem with this. I'm online entirely too much on different social media platforms, mostly posting stuff, but it's something which very much applies to me. Practice self-awareness. Be aware of how you feel while you're online. If you find yourself feeling anxious, jealous, or feeling down after using certain platforms, consider taking a break or seeking support. Engage in offline activities. Dedicate some time to activities which can enrich your life outside of social media. That could be spending some time with loved ones, pursuing a hobby, or engaging in physical exercise. Remember, social media can be a powerful tool for connecting with others and staying focused, but it's crucial to be aware of its potential impact on well-being and managing time spent online and prioritizing mental health. That way we can harness the benefits while mitigating any negative side effects. So yeah, pretty kind of good, interesting stuff, right? With the rise of different platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Now there's, Blue Sky. It's not even Twitter now, is it? It's X. Mastodon, Counter Social. There's so many different platforms now, and there's probably more on the horizon. So it's important to examine how those platforms impact our well-being. Once again, numerous studies have indicated a correlation between excessive use of social media and health issues, including depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. According to a study which was conducted by the Royal Society for Public Health in the United Kingdom, social media platforms have been linked to increased feelings of inadequacy and negative body image. An overwhelming amount of curated and idealized content on social media can contribute to self-comparisons and feelings of inferiority. So is it bad for our health? Constant exposure to filtered, edited photos on social media, that creates unrealistic standards of beauty, which can lead to dissatisfaction with your own appearance, and that can further worsen mental health concerns. The need for validation through likes, comments, and followers can also contribute to anxiety and low self-worth, as people may constantly seek external approval in the online space, the online world. Excessive consumption of social media content has been associated, as I said earlier, with poor sleep patterns, and the blue light emitted from electronic devices disrupts the production of melatonin. That's a hormone that helps regulate sleep, and a lack of quality sleep has detrimental effects on mental health, leading to mood imbalances, reduced cognitive functioning, it decreases your overall well-being. Can social media have a positive impact on mental health, or is it always negative? Despite the negative associations, it's important to note that social media can and does play a positive, vital role in mental health support, online support. Online communities and groups provide platforms for people to connect with other people who share their similar experiences, interests, or challenges. And it can offer space for people to find support, share resources, raise awareness about mental health and other issues. The relationship between social media and mental health pretty complex and multifaceted. While excessive use has been linked to negative mental health outcomes, it is crucial to recognize the potential benefits of these different platforms can offer. But it's essential for people to find balance themselves between online time and being mindful of any impact it might play on overall well-being. Social media rewires our brains, and it's changing our brain chemistry. Another video I'm going to post talks about social media acting like a drug, rewiring our brains. Can change our brain chemistry. There's extensive research that shows that it leads to extremism and misinformation. Social media can manipulate behavior and cognition. It can operate it operates like a behavioral experiment, reinforcing specific behaviors and thoughts. And misinformation thrives due to engagement-focused algorithms, and prolonged exposure alters patterns of behavior. It can increase anger and tribalism online as well. Social media plays a significant role in our lives, but as I said, there are concerns for its effects on mental health. Research shows that using social media, again, is linked to anxiety, depression, low self-esteem. Instagram especially was mentioned. So yeah, seeking perfect images and comparing ourselves to others. Feelings of inadequacy can come from that. One study found that adults who spent more than 2 hours a day on social media were twice as likely to feel socially isolated compared to those who spent less than 30 minutes. Higher levels of social media use were significantly associated with feelings of isolation, regardless of factors like living situations or employment status. Among United States adolescents, high users of screens, including social media and gaming, are significantly more likely to have high levels of unhappiness, depression, and risk factors for suicide than people who use it less. The trend was consistent across different types of screen activities, and it wasn't merely a reflection of overall time spent on screens. And a couple of other questions that come up on the topic. What happens to your brain without social media? Without social media, your brain changes in both structure and function. Frequent users might experience alterations in brain structure, especially in areas related to attention and emotional regulation. That's because constant scrolling and online interactions can decrease gray matter volume in those regions. Without the constant flow of information and distractions, your brain can rest and recover, which can lead to improved focus and attention span. Without comparing and seeking validation on social media, your brain is freed from pressure and anxiety. Disconnecting allows your brain to reset and improve cognitive function and well-being. In areas related to attention and emotional regulation, this happens due to constant scrolling and online interactions, which, as I said, decreases grey matter. How does it affect your concentration? It has a big effect on our ability to concentrate. It changes how the brain works, and research has showed that using social media too much can harm parts of the brain that help us concentrate and pay attention. When we use social media, our brain's constantly bombarded with information, notifications, and updates, and it makes it difficult to stay focused on one thing for a long period of time. And it can make it harder for us to focus, harder to make decisions and solve problems, because there's just so much information. So it's important to find a balance between social media and focusing on tasks that requires our attention. And I struggle with this. Does social media impact behavior? Social media is definitely a big part of our lives, and it affects how we behave. Firstly, it can overwhelm our brains with too much information, making it harder to remember things accurately. It also changes how we interact with others, and it encourages us to seek approval and attention from other people online, and that can make us too focused on our image and less focused on genuine interactions. Research has shown that using social media too much can change our brain activity and lead to addictive behaviors, which affect our overall mental well-being. So it's important to be aware of the effects and find a balance between the offline and online interactions. How does social media affect the developing brain? Constant exposure to multiple platforms leads to multitasking, can be harmful for our attention span and memory. Addiction to social media reduces face-to-face interactions and cognitive abilities. There's an overwhelming flow of information which makes it hard to process effectively, and comparisons and judgments, they can harm self-esteem and cause emotional distress. These negative effects impact cognitive functions, cognitive development, and well-being in general. Responsible use and promoting healthier activities are important. So yeah, with that said, what am I thankful for today? I hope you enjoyed the content. What am I thankful for today? Today, I'm thankful and I'm grateful that my daughter in the United Kingdom has found a place to live. She had been homeless, and it's been worrying me a lot. I really do wish that she could come and live with me, so does she, but unfortunately right now it's not possible. But we both hope to make that happen in the future. What are you grateful for today? Let me know in the comments what you're grateful for today. And any comments of how I might make these videos more interesting, any topics that you'd like to see me cover. And as always, I really appreciate you stopping by and tuning in. Hope you enjoyed today's content. I'll see you next time. And as always, Remember to take care of your mind and check out the website, gregscloud.com.